Hey everybody, thanks for being here. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction of who's here. We have Commissioner Dana Beasley Brown, Mayor Todd Alcott, Detective Ryan Dillon, Lieutenant Colonel Penny Bowles. We also have Pam Hurt, Deputy Director of Brass, Alicia Martin, who's the Director of Community-Based Services, also for Brass, Melissa Stroutman, who is the owner of Massage Therapy, and Commissioner Carlos Bailey. And I'm going to step aside now and let all of them talk.
Thank you, Deborah. Good evening, Bowling Green. Tonight, you will hear from a United team that has dedicated a lot of hard work and that has come together collaboratively to put teeth to adopting a city ordinance to stop a crime network from popping up massage parlors without legal state licensing and enslaving victims through human trafficking to perform sexual acts. You're going to hear from a team that has worked together, but I'd like to say I'm grateful and I want to thank this team. I want to thank the Bowling Green Police Department under the leadership of Chief Michael Delaney, and we have here our Deputy Chief, Penny Bowles. You will hear from her tonight. But I would like to thank our detectives, Kyle Charlo and Dylan Ryan, that's here, that you'll hear from tonight. And also Hillary Hightower has put a lot of work into writing this ordinance, as well as our community partners, Massage Therapy, Melissa, thank you, and the Barron River Area Safe Space, Brass, Tori, and her crew that you'll hear from tonight. And the key sponsor to this ordinance, Dana Beasley Brown, our Mayor Pro Tem, and I would like to introduce her and thank her for her hard work and her dedication to see this come to fruition. Dana.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome everyone, and I just want to thank you all for being here today. Over the last few years, I've had the honor of working alongside of Detective Dillon to support students navigating dangerous, difficult situations in my role as a youth services center at Bowling Green Junior High. And through that work, we discovered our shared passion for protecting and empowering the most vulnerable in our community, and taking away the barriers to shut down human trafficking and protecting victims in our community. Detective Dillon, would you start by giving us some context about what's been happening in Bowling Green that led us here today?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So the Bowling Green Police Department has investigated a lot of the cases that I'm about to talk about, and some of the media outlets here have been great at covering those investigations. So, according to the Justice Department, a published report by Polaris, an estimated 7,500 to 9,000 illicit massage businesses operate across the United States. These businesses masquerade as legitimate massage or bodywork establishments, but are in reality hubs for commercial sex acts and human trafficking. Behind their storefront lies a sophisticated network of transnational organized crime that preys on vulnerable women, most often trafficked from China and South Korea. And the problem, which we're going to talk about tonight, is not just confined to big cities. Here in Bowling Green, our police department has conducted multiple investigations that have resulted in arrests and victims identified. And yet several such businesses still operate within our jurisdiction, but make no mistake, we know who they are and we're coming for them. The women trapped in these operations endure inhumane conditions. This is based on our investigations. This is what we have found. Inhumane conditions, they are forced to live on site so traffickers can keep their businesses open 15 to 24 hours a day. They lack transportation, access to health care, and the ability to speak English. Many are victims of repeated sexual assault inside the very facilities they are confined. Traffickers lure them in with promises of prosperity and the ability to support their families back home, only to impose crushing debts and force them into servitude. Many victims do not even know what city or state they're in. I can't think of hardly any that we've investigated and served search warrants on where we locate the victims inside these businesses that even know what city they're in. And so that's an honest fact. It's really pathetic. Now, what is the solution? That's the question. That's why we're here today. Thanks to the leadership of our mayor and city commission, Bowling Green has taken decisive action. I met with City Commissioner Dana Beasley Brown and City Attorney Hillary Hightower to address the crisis, and I'm very appreciative for both of them. For too long, it was far too easy for traffickers to obtain a city business license. That ends now. The new ordinance is designed to combat human trafficking and illegal activities head on. It strengthens oversight for city officials and law enforcement, bans sleeping quarters in businesses to prevent women from being forced to live on site, and prohibits establishments from advertising on websites tied to prostitution and trafficking. Our goal is simple and shared: to protect the vulnerable, dismantle criminal networks, and ensure Bowling Green is no safe haven for traffickers. With this ordinance, it will be nearly impossible for illicit businesses to secure a license and operate in our city. Bowling Green is proud to lead the way in this region, and we hope others will soon follow our example. Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Detective Dillon. Your passion for protecting the most vulnerable and your relentless fight for their freedom and their healing is inspiring. After learning from Detective Dillon what was happening in our city, I pledged that we would not stop until we found a way to protect victims and shut down those traffickers for good. Over the past few years, I have worked closely with Detective Dillon and City Attorney and Code Enforcement, who's also here today, to explore every option. We tried strengthening our internal systems and improving collaboration between departments using existing laws, but it became very clear. We needed stronger regulations to prevent these traffickers from operating, to give law enforcement the authority they need to close them down permanently. So Detective Dillon and City Attorney Hillary Hightower studied best practices from across Kentucky and the nation so they could draft an ordinance that would both shut down human trafficking and protect survivors. There were also lots of other departments involved in preparing this ordinance to ensure that safe, legitimate massage businesses can thrive and that human trafficking will be shut down. I wish everyone could have been in the room to see all these folks around the table. It was packed. It was a room full of unlikely crime fighters united for one cause. Every team brought their own unique expertise. Treasury, they're also here today, brought knowledge of licensing and compliance. IT built a system that is user-friendly and links multiple departments together. Code Enforcement and BGPD brought their experience and knowledge of how to shut down human trafficking fronts. The city attorney guided the process to ensure compliance with state law. And our public information officer, Debbie, is working to make sure legitimate massage businesses know exactly what to do and when. I want to thank every one of you here today, everyone involved, and I want to especially lift up the leadership of Chief Delaney and Deputy Chief Bowles. You all listened to the men and women on the front lines and let them shape the solutions to make our city safer. And your leadership is what got us here today. So Deputy Chief Bowles, would you share a few words on behalf of the department?
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you all. And thank you all for being here today. On behalf of Chief Michael Delaney, who unfortunately could not be with us today, but he also expresses his thanks and appreciation to you all and to our city staff. We are one team, and everybody does bring a unique perspective and responsibility to this. But it's actually our community's responsibility. We all have a responsibility in combating human trafficking, and this ordinance will give us the tools that we need as a police department and other city officials to combat it as well. So on behalf of Chief, he submitted a memorandum of his concerns and highlighted 5 main points for him, and that is, the main one is to enhance public safety. Obviously, the police department, that is our goal, is public safety. But prior to this ordinance, we did not have the capability of having routine inspections and regulatory oversight of these massage, both legitimate and illegitimate, to know which ones were operating effectively and the ones that were obviously not doing the things that they should be doing. But we can deter and disrupt the illegal activities that are basically hiding in plain sight. The main goal, obviously, is to combat human trafficking. Basically, human trafficking is slavery. It's modern-day slavery, in a nice way to say it. These women that we have encountered in our city, as Detective Dillon said, had no idea they were even in Bowling Green, Kentucky, or didn't know where they were. And a lot of times, these victims come from countries that they don't trust the police either. So when we do respond, they're afraid of us as well, and as the person there that's trafficking them. So that's an added challenge for us as well. It's also to improve the quality of life and our overall safety, our reputation, and the livability of our community. That's very important to our police department. And also we want to support legitimate businesses. We have our representatives here, but that's super important to our community where people are thriving and trying to have a business. And we have an incident where we make an arrest for an illegal massage parlor, and we put it on Facebook, and they're like, hey, these are not massage therapists, and they're very passionate to show that is not the business that they choose. So we definitely want to support our partners in our community. And also, we want to protect our consumers, the citizens that are using these facilities who may not even know what they're getting themselves into. And so we want to make sure that our citizens are protected as well. So again, thank you very much for your passion and your leadership on this, both of you all, and definitely Hillary for all of your tireless work and reaching out to partner agencies. And again, I think Bowling Green will set the bar very high, and many communities will come in behind, and hopefully we'll adopt this and we can have a united Kentucky, not just a united Bowling Green. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Bowles. We stand here united with the survivors. They are our why. It's important. So I would like to invite up Pam Hurt and Alicia Martin from BRASS, the Barron River Area Safe Space. They work closely with BGPD to provide a safe place for human trafficking survivors after they are rescued. So Pam and Alicia.
Thank you. We are here to show our support for this ordinance because BRASS, the Domestic Violence Shelter, does serve victims of domestic violence. And what we have realized is these experiences have made one thing very clear. Human trafficking isn't in the shadows. It is in our very face. It's right there in front of us. And when the door closes behind the survivor after a rescue, that's where we step in. It doesn't mark the end of a journey, it marks the beginning. The trauma doesn't end. Survivors continue to face deep emotional wounds, complex recovery needs, and significant barriers to rebuild their lives. That's why they need more than that immediate intervention. They need safety, support, and access to resources.
Survivors need more than a moment of safety. We seek to provide them long-term care, a trusting environment, and our unwavering support. We accomplish this through an initial assessment to determine the survivor's needs and the barriers they face. Following the assessment, we may relocate a survivor back to the safety of their family, provide emergency shelter, a meal, or some clothing. We offer the resources of our community partners to reduce other barriers assessed in the survivor's service plan. And for those who do not have strong support systems, we empower them to rebuild and build a sense of self-sufficiency. The Bowling Green community has proven that it refuses to look away. We are here today to support this proposed ordinance and invite you to be a part of the movement toward prevention, accountability, and healing.
Thank you, Pam and Alicia, and just for BRASS for all you do and for lifting up the voices of survivors today. Now it's time to hear from community leaders like Melissa from Massage Fix. She has shared her expertise along this entire process to ensure this ordinance uplifts our legitimate massage therapists who are doing important work of healing our community while shutting down those who seek to exploit. Melissa has been incredibly encouraging through the whole process, letting us know they were willing to go through a more difficult licensing process because massage therapists care deeply about protecting our community and ensuring their profession is not used as a cover for exploitation. Their willingness to do more so traffickers can no longer hide makes them true heroes in this fight. So Melissa, will you share a few words about why this ordinance is important to your industry?
Well, thank you, and good evening again. My name is Melissa Stroutman of Massage Fix. My husband and I own Massage Fix, and our business has been open here in Bowling Green for since, I don't know, 2012, thank you. And so we work on clients every single day, and I will tell you, one of the biggest things that we see is that everyone in this room and people out in the public who come see us don't know this is happening. And when they come to me and they say, I couldn't get in with you, so I went to XXX, I won't say any names, but I'll go, okay, well, I would ask you not to do that if you want to be my client, because that's human trafficking and those women are prisoners, and you and I get to go home and pick out our pajamas and watch TV, and they don't. They get raped every day, and it's so wrong. And we have to think about those people. And I, as a massage therapist, can't like trauma dump on my clients every day. So I appreciate finally something coming together and being able to stop it in any way that we can. And I think this ordinance, thank you, Hillary, man, she's good with words. It's got some serious teeth to it. And this is going to enable the police officers to do their job and shut these places down. Because I will tell you that it is people you know who go to these places, and they don't know what they are. I had a story, a lady who was in my office who said that a friend of hers took her 16-year-old son because he had a sports injury. Well, he was propositioned on the table for sex, and he was terrified. And he got out of there, and that shouldn't happen. And these places are criminal organizations, and don't think they're not going to get mad and something terrible might happen to you. And every single week I could count maybe 4 or 5 instances of community people who just don't understand that these places are different, okay? And they're not safe, they're criminals. And they go there, and and this is a really big thing, and I really want the press to listen to me. We have got to stop using the word massage for these places, please. They are no more massage therapists than that Home Alone movie. Joe Pesci was a rogue cop, okay? His character was not a cop at all. He was a criminal, and these people are criminals. So please don't use the word massage for these places. They are illicit sex businesses. And I need this to stop in my community. I correct it every week, and I'm going to keep correcting it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Melissa. As you can see, we have passionate advocates for survivors of human trafficking all over our city. And we just every time we met, you could see how much our community cares. You know, you can see from all these testimonies here that at its core, this ordinance is about who we are as a city. Bowling Green is a community that takes care of each other. We're united to protect the most vulnerable among us. And we are sending a clear message to human traffickers. Your business is not welcome here. And finally, I'm so honored to stand with the mayor and Commissioner Carlos Bailey. If you want to come up, you know, this doesn't happen until they carry it over the finish line on Tuesday, and it doesn't happen without their leadership and support. And so I'd like to invite Commissioner Bailey to say a few words, and the mayor's going to say a few words on behalf of the Commissioner Hill and Perigin. We're not able to make it today.
Well, first, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Dana Beasley Brown. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Hillary, you know, because you do a lot for the city that sometimes doesn't always get seen. You're sitting in the audience, but sometimes you should be up here. And also thank you, Detective, because I know if you guys were not along here, this wouldn't happen. This is a very serious situation. But I'm gonna talk not just from a commissioner's point of view, but I'm gonna talk as a parent. When you're a parent, your deepest hope and sometimes your greatest worries is that your child is always safe. I have 4 daughters. 2 of them right now are in college. And I'll be honest with you, I pray every day and I pray every night for their safety. Like any other parent, I carry those fears and those worries because I know that it only takes one moment, one encounter, and one wrong person to pull a young life into darkness. And as an attorney, that's what I do for a living. I'm an attorney. I know that this truth is too well. Human trafficking isn't just a headline. The evening news are just a Hollywood script, and it's certainly not some far-off tragedy, as you've heard today. It is one of the greatest evils of our time. As you've heard, it's also hiding in plain sight. And when it surfaces, it leaves behind stolen lives and broken people. So back in 2018, long before I was a city commissioner, my wife and I, we went to the movies and we saw a movie that was called Traffic. At that time, I'm assuming that it's just Hollywood fiction and it's sensationalized. But as you've heard, some of those sensationalism is not always true, it's real. In August 14, 2025, just up the street in Indianapolis, we had a young lady, an 18-year-old young lady who was rescued because she was becoming another victim to human trafficking. That wasn't a movie. That wasn't a far-off thing that happened in California or some other place that was in the United States. That was real life. And that was just hours from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And that was somebody's daughter. Stories like that remind us that trafficking is not just a distant problem. It is here. It is near and it is very, very real. And that is why this ordinance matters. So thank you for bringing that, because it matters a lot to a lot of families. It matters to a lot of parents. We know traffickers don't just hide behind or I guess you said that in the darkness and hide behind doors. They hide and they use these fronts to massage parlors, exploiting women, exploiting children, and under the cover of legal loopholes. But also let me be clear, as you've heard today, there's a lot of massage parlors, small businesses that are very, very legal, and they're just basically trying to do what they're doing to make a living. So you're right, it's an illicit sex business and not a massage parlor. And at the core of this ordinance, it's not just words on paper. It's about protecting our youth and protecting the people that's here. It's about making sure that Bowling Green will never be a safe haven to human trafficking. It is also ensuring that victims are not invisible, but they're seen, they're rescued, and they're given hope to basically deal with their trauma. So again, to the Bowling Green Police Department and everybody that's been involved, and again, thank to you as well, Commissioner Beasley Brown and the mayor, thank you guys, because we're trying to do something about this to bring protection to this city and to make sure that this doesn't happen moving forward.
Okay, you've heard from our team, but you haven't heard from 2 other commissioners, and they asked me to express some words, and this is from Commissioner Sue Perigin. I am 100% for new rules in regarding massage parlors and reducing the incidence of human trafficking wherever it occurs. Legitimate massage businesses suffer when these illicit businesses are allowed to run in our communities. Cracking down on human trafficking is not only the right thing to do, it will also send a loud and clear message that in Bowling Green, we do not allow crime to run rampant, and we will take a strong stance to clear steps and reduce the scourge wherever it's occurring. And this is from Commissioner Melinda Hill. Thank you to everyone that has been and will continue to work on letting people know BG is against human trafficking. I am thankful we are making our laws stronger. So tonight we have a team up here and we can take questions at this time. Is that all right?
Yeah, I just have one more closing statement.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you, Commissioner Bailey and Mayor, again, just for your all support. I have never been more proud of our city. This type of collaboration is what makes Bowling Green so strong, and it's going to leave a legacy of a safer, stronger, and more united future for generations to come. So, yeah, Debbie, if you want to kind of manage this next part of the press conference about answering questions, yeah.
All right. So all of these folks here are available for your questions. If you have questions, please hit them up. And if you have questions about how this will work legally, anything about the way that the the ordinance is written, talk to Hillary, she'll be able to answer your questions, so.
Hillary, do you want to take that one since you did the research?
When we were researching this, we found that most people have something similar in their actually sexually explicit ordinance, and it really doesn't belong there. It almost, and if you look at our ordinance, you see we're taking that definition out. It almost makes it look like what they're doing is legal, but it's not. So I did not find anything like this. Paducah has something similar. I'm not sure if they enforce it. I could never figure out who was in charge of it, who does inspections. So I think ours really will be the first aggressive ordinance of its type to stop this.
What other laws then did you base this on? Where did you look? You didn't look so much at Kentucky.
Yeah, I didn't bring my notebook.
A lot out west.
West, we looked like, I remember we had a California one. I think
Colorado.
we did have a Colorado law. I have them all back in my office. I can email you the ones that we looked at if you would like those. But those were the examples. We kind of looked all over. We work a lot with the Kentucky League of Cities. So once I had it completely drafted, I sent it to them. They were very much in favor of it, thought it was great, so I could get ideas from them. We worked with Melissa at Massage Fix, and I think she talked to some other, just to make sure we were covering all our bases, so.
I'll add just one more thing to
Yes,
that too.
yes.
So we had to, look far and wide because, a lot of people don't know what makes our city a target for human trafficking is our proximity to I-65. And so this is, something that maybe other communities and other states have already dealt with for a long time, and so then have had to come up with some solutions to combat it. But we really it's hard to find something close to us that really was the aggressive force we needed to really go after and stop these traffickers. So they did. They researched nationwide. The detectives had, a huge stack of research they had done about the different types of solution that they felt we needed to really create an ordinance that would stop it here. So it was a lot of research from the detectives and then Hillary pulling that all together and figuring out, what is going to work with us since we have our unique laws that we have in KRS that kind of regulates what cities are allowed to make laws about, and then state as well.
Ms. Hightower, could you kind of speak to exactly how paraphrasing how the law reads, and then so that those stipulations in place to make sure that this kind of thing stops here?
Sure. So we started just with the application process. The city has business registrations for any kind of business entity, but those are not regulatory. If you all have looked at any of our ordinances, alcohol businesses are regulatory, towing companies, mobile food trucks. So we have some specific regulatory. So we wanted to get one of those ordinances so that we can actually require compliance. The second thing was the application. When we typically have a business registration, it's a name. It could be another company. It could be a shell company. It could be one person who's local. They just happen to put on the application if it's an illicit business. So this requires all parties involved, all principals, owners. It requires a local agent that we can get in touch with every time. It requires everyone to provide some kind of identification so we know we're actually dealing with a person, not just a straw man who's creating a business. It requires criminal histories so that we know they have not committed these types of activities in other states, what their previous occupations have been. And then once we get past that, and then also a list of employees, which has to be updated when that changes. Because again, these women, if you go in and talk to them, they are afraid of police. They don't know where they are. They don't speak English. They don't have IDs. They don't have phones. They don't have money. They can't walk out and say, hey, can someone help me? That's not an option. So we want a list of employees that we can, and their IDs that we can then verify that's actually the employee working there when a compliance check is done. The license is specific to one facility. We were having problems where the police would arrest someone or stop this, and they would move across town and they would change their name from Massage Fix to Massage Therapy to Massage World, and it would be the same group of people that was human trafficking. I think Ryan alluded to there's not allowed to have a bed there. We have specific hours that they can do massages. They have to post their license.
You have to be able to leave,
have to be able to leave. One of the big things is being able to get out. So, yes, if you are, let's say you're a solo massage therapist, you may have your own, just one entry and then one massage room, a treatment room. However, if you lock that door because you don't have, a receptionist, and then lock the therapy door, then that person can't get out. So there's got to be a way that they can exit just by turning it instead of having to wait for the person to unlock it.
And no overnight stays after the business is closed.
Right, no
preventing the
beds,
residency.
no sleeping there. If we find out that this is an illicit massage place, or actually an illicit sex trafficking place, sorry, Melissa. Those people, not only can we suspend and revoke their license and stop their business, but they cannot apply for another license. And in the meantime, the police are always going to continue to do their investigations. They will charge human trafficking anytime that they can make a case, and as a former prosecutor, I saw that a lot. But this gives the city a chance to go in and stop it immediately, instead of while this investigation is going on and that victim is just being re-victimized every single day. So those are just a couple of the things that we can do that are in our ordinance, but there are some really specific rules in there with, inspections, compliance checks that will allow us to enter these places and know, is this a real massage therapist, or is this an illicit criminal, endeavor that needs to be shut down right now? So.
This is for BGPD. This is kind of I may not be able to answer, but is there an idea of how many cases you all have worked at illicit businesses of this type?
Yeah, so I'd say since 2017, we've had about 6 active cases. And that's just local cases that we've had. It used to be very hard to charge human trafficking. So a charge that you might have seen us use before in the state level is promoting prostitution. And I want to address one other thing real quick. We've gotten, sometimes I think people don't understand, when we'll shut these places down, I've heard this a lot, especially on our social media page, I'm sure Colonel Bowles will agree. What happened, people will comment, well, what people agree to do in private, they should be allowed to do. Okay. But these women aren't agreeing to do anything. They're being forced into this by somebody else. And what we'll find is a lot of times the business owner is from Chicago, New York, LA, and they own multiple places like this across the country. So you may not see us locally charged with human trafficking, but normally we do try to involve the federal government in these investigations, because the federal charge for human trafficking is carries a lot more time than the state charge does. So I think we've had 5 to 6 since 2017, 2018. And once again, we know of a few others right now that could possibly hint be ongoing. Okay.
The second part of that, what can you all do now under the current system to prosecute this?
Well, so the prosecution will still be the same. We'll still have to put together a case. We'll still have to develop probable cause. We'll still have to apply for search warrants. That all remains the same. But it'll be a whole lot easier to enter these establishments to make sure that they're compliant with the city ordinance. And the city ordinance allows us to shut them down a lot quicker if we do suspect there's a problem, instead of allowing them to remain open while because these investigations, it's not what you see on TV. It takes a while. These investigations take a while. Search warrants have to be detailed for a judge to sign off on it. A lot of interviews have to be done, and a lot of things that we monitor online. So this allows us to identify a problem and shut it down a whole lot quicker.
May I speak to that as well? So massage.
Come on up here, Melissa.
Sorry. Yeah. So massage therapists are regulated by the state of Kentucky. We have a state board in Frankfort, and you have to go to at least a 600-hour school. You have to have an FBI background check. You have to take the NBLEX, which is a national exam, and you have to have gone to a Kentucky State accredited school. Okay, so then you apply for a license, you get a license, and that license comes with a certificate that has our photo on it, and it must be posted when you come in the door. Okay, so go by Massage Fix, you can see it in our front window, take a picture of it, that's what it should look like. So the public has already had a way to identify if you are actually licensed. And we even had a QR code where you could click it and check, like go straight to the verification and see that I actually have a license and I've never had a violation on my license and my license is active and the day that it's expired. So we've always had that, but you're not going to find those anywhere else.
Do you want to add the exceptions? Because some folks want to ask about that in terms of doctor's offices.
Right, options in there, chiropractors, doctor's offices, physical therapists, anything that's medical, pedicures, that's a cosmetic procedure. So it can be really difficult when you're talking about different types of massage. But this is, and it's not regulating the individual massage therapist because the state does that. This is directed at massage facilities, places where people get massages to make sure that they are compliant with this. So.
Ms. Hightower, could you add that, and you kind of touched on it, Mr. Dillon, Detective Dillon, that some of these ladies that are in here, and it goes to your question, sometimes it becomes consensual because they were put on drugs, and it's more coercive during that time. So you will find it, so it's never really a consensual relationship. Can you be more? Sometimes
it's related to whether they get to eat. They may not get food brought to them if they have not done a certain number of sexual acts that day. If they haven't made enough money at these illicit businesses, then they may not get food. They may not get water. They are definitely trapped in a place where they just have no idea how to get out. So our goal here is to prevent that, to make sure that the massage therapists and the facilities that are doing really good businesses here continue to thrive and that we shut these places down.
Why do you think that human traffickers target this business in particular in your own stance? Why would you think specifically spas?
I think that spas are not highly regulated. I mean, when we went to look for ordinances like this, they just don't exist. It's a very good front business. You can call it a massage, and there are massage therapists have to have a license, but also there are masseuses that aren't necessarily licensed but aren't committing crimes. So there's that weird window. So I think that they think they can fly under the radar because there's not a lot of regulation. They do have people that don't know how to get out, and so it's an easy way to to keep people trapped in a place. They're not out in public doing business. They're behind a door, and then we're right off the interstate. So Bowling Green is a good location for that, but not anymore.
Detective Dillon, I don't know if you can, I'm sure maybe some of the things are still open, but if you could, I would like to maybe hear a little bit about the investigations that you've been a part of so far since 2017, maybe some of those interviews and things that you had heard of, not necessarily anything that infringed on the case, but just some of the situations that were maybe dealing with it.
Yeah, so here's how these investigations typically start. I'm going to give you a real quick rundown version, okay? Obviously, I'm very fortunate to work where I am because the city allows me to have access to some stuff that sometimes costs money. There's certain websites and stuff that are designed for law enforcement use only, where we're able to monitor websites commonly associated with commercial sex trafficking. For example, Backpage was shut down a long time ago, but now there's onebackpage.com. There's skipthegames.com. All of those websites are typically used for the purpose of prostitution and or commercial sex trafficking. So if you're a legitimate business here in Bowling Green, why would you be advertising your illicit sex business on that website? So I can see those ads. I mean, I don't think I'm telling any secrets. It's public record in my reports, so I can monitor those ads. So when I start reading when I start noticing a particular place advertising a lot on a website that's commonly associated with commercial sex trafficking, well, that sparks my concern, right? So then the investigation's on. I have reasonable suspicion to believe that there is probably criminal activity inside that business. So then the next step would be some surveillance. Once we do some surveillance, we'll typically see in these investigations, actually, I can't tell you if I've ever seen a woman leave one of these establishments. It's typically men that leave. Unfortunately, typically married men. We will make contact with those men. A lot of times, some of the complaints that I've read online are, why aren't these men charged? Well, they're low-hanging fruit. Typically, we make contact with them in an attempt to gain information from them that can help our investigation. And typically, they choose to comply. So the next step after that would be search warrants, recorded interviews. But before we execute a search warrant on one of these establishments, we have to make sure that there's community resources in place. You've heard from Brass, because the women have to have somewhere to go. Sometimes they're scared, and I can't force somebody to be a victim, but what I can do is make it extremely difficult for a sex trafficker's business to operate within our city limits. So once again, you can't force people to be victims. Sometimes they're scared, sometimes they do want our help, but we can make it extremely difficult for them to operate within our city. And that's the goal of all of this, is we hope that not only we can make it extremely difficult for them to operate here, but I have a feeling that in a year from now, there's gonna be a lot of other cities in this area that follow their lead. Because this is the most aggressive ordinance that I could find east of the Mississippi. Out west, these ordinances have proven to be successful. So if we can stop it here, maybe other places will follow our lead.
This is the first vote.
Next month.
Hillary, can you talk a little bit how code enforcement will play into this and help with this one?
Yeah, and code enforcement has been helpful in the past as well, because the code enforcement has the ability, if there's illicit activity going on at a location and we get more than 3 arrests or search warrants served there, or I think, is it 3? 2 or more. Then we could try to shut that place down. So they have helped, and we did try to go that route. But they are going to be involved in inspections, not inspections from the standpoint of checking on making sure electric and all of that, but inspections to make sure it's compliant with our particular ordinance. So that will be very helpful. And code enforcement, they're out and about. They see a lot of things anyway. So when they see something that's concerning, they are very good at sharing it with the police, with the legal department, and then we can take that information and move forward with it. They can also help us when we go back to actually shut down a house. They can condemn it and put the sign on the door and say this place is closed, and then check that it continues to stay that way. So they're always very helpful.
Ms. Melissa, would you mind to maybe just talk a little bit about your involvement in all of this? I'd like to hear from you as a massage therapist.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So back in 2012, when we opened up Massage Fix, and we had just moved back here from Tampa, and there were 2 what I would have deemed illicit sex businesses that had opened up within 6 months of us arriving. It was evident that's what they were. And at the time, my good friend Holly Cherry here, who's a fabulous therapist, she and I and a bunch of other massage therapists got together, and we had maybe a dozen meetings, and some of them were cocktail party meetings, but it was still fun, but and we talked about this, and we said, what can we do? Well, we had a couple little brave souls that would go out and try to get massages at these places and write everything down. And one of them, if you remember, she said a back door opened and there were little 11, 12-year-old girls sitting on the floor. And we knew right then we had to do something. So we called Chris Coron and Police Chief Hawkins, and we said, you got to do something. So they did. They did a sting operation, and when the police arrived, they were ready for them. It was all cleaned up, no little children, and no towels on top of the thing, and Kama Sutra signs and things like that. All that was cleaned up. So I just kind of threw my hands up in the air and said, they've been here 6 months, and they already have an in. So, it just didn't work out real well. So that was very disheartening. And to watch them blossom, I mean, if I drove around right now, I probably could pick out, 15 to 20 of them that exist now, would you say?
Oh, I think we've narrowed that down quite a bit.
Good.
But there's several. And
yeah. Good. I'm glad. I haven't driven around in a while. But there's, you can see them, they're evident. Their windows are covered, they have the neon open sign flashing, and, you know, well, certain things I don't want to say, but that is how, that's how we got involved. And a lot of times, because reflexology in our state law is not covered under the massage law, they often open up places or put foot signs on and they say reflexology, but it's just the same business.
Will you share how Hillary was just talking with you throughout the whole process about the parts about how we were able to support you all as legitimate?
Yes, absolutely. So when was it? November-ish? November, when you first gave me the first ordinance?
Yeah, about that time.
Yeah, okay, so they all came up with a draft and just wanted some input on that as to what was good and what wasn't. And if anybody knows me, I'm the queen of documents. So I sent back an email that was, you know, this long saying, okay, well, this is good, this is good, this is good, this won't work because of this, and this is actually, there's already a state law for it, or this goes against a state law, because as massage therapists, we have to read and know our own law. So that went through, I don't know, however many iterations after that. And then recently, I was sent a new iteration with some of the corrections. And again, I had a 3-page document, and I said, please fix this. And Hillary, you know, fires back, gets it all cleaned up. I was literally having lunch yesterday, and she calls me with new wording, and it was awesome. So they not only cared about the actual reason why we're all here is helping people not be sex trafficked, but they cared about our community and our legitimate massage therapists, which is, we don't have enough of them, okay? We are overwhelmed with clients, and this population is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and unfortunately, we got to get rid of them or they're going to outnumber us. So is that good? Get it? Okay.
Well, I have one more, Ms. Melissa. Could you maybe speak to how it has impacted, you know, your life or your business with all this going on?
Well, it has not affected our bottom line or us financially at all. We're good therapists and we do clinical work, and there's always people are hurting. Thank you, pickleballers. I appreciate you so much. So we're always full, we're always busy, and we do a good business and we're happy. So it doesn't affect us on that level, but so like an independent sole practitioner like Holly, it might affect her financial business, because like I said, people don't know that they should go to Holly or they should go to, you know, the other people. And so they might pick them instead of her, which might affect her book during a week. But I'll tell you how it does affect us. My sweet little mother-in-law is our morning receptionist, and she's extremely naive, and we get kind of cracked up about it. She'll get a pervert calling in thinking we're one of these sex shops, and she's just as nice as pie to them, and it's so hilarious. It's so funny. But sometimes she has to endure some pretty nasty language, so my employees have to deal with that. It is very rare that somebody who is looking for sex actually gets on one of our tables, because we do screen pretty well, and we train our therapists really well on how to handle these things. And Michael, do you have anything you want to say about that as far as how it's affected us?
Well, we know if a client has ever had a violation of some sort of our policies in the treatment room, we document that, and we also involve the authorities whenever necessary.
Yeah, and we do constantly have to re-educate the public on what is okay. You know, a therapist climbing on the table and stretching you, that might sound really like, oh my gosh, that's sexual, right? Well, Holly's a Thai therapist, and in Thailand, that is the type of massage that is done. So we have to constantly educate the people who are coming in on what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, and so that's really how it affects us.
I just wanted to reiterate just from your question before, just the before and after, like what is the change that happens with the ordinance? And the biggest problem that we had before implementing this ordinance is that they had the ability to, go in, do stakeout and shut down these places, but then they could open up the very next day. And that was, months of work that they had put into being able to shut down this facility and then get, the survivors to a safe place, to then the very next day after all that work, see them open again was very disheartening. And so this is what this ordinance is meant to do, is to shut them down and shut them down for good, so that they cannot open their doors the next day and continue to harm the most vulnerable. So that's the biggest change that this ordinance is going to do for our community.
There is one other thing it's going to do. As Detective Dillon said, the people are in Chicago. So we're now going to have names and we're going to have responsible people. And a lot of times the people that are responsible ultimately for the trafficking are never held responsible because you can't find them. And we will have that list and those people will be held responsible.
And that reminded me of one last thing I was going to say, I didn't write it down. And the other thing is that this ordinance specifically targets the business owners and the massage or the facility. It is not going after the employees that are performing the massages. So it's very intentional about targeting the operators at these illegal fronts, not the folks there that might be getting trafficked and forced to be a part of it. So that's the other big focus.
Yeah, in the past, you've seen, like when we've done, and I'll be quiet. In the past, these are another complaint thing I see on Facebook, so it's easy for me to explain it to y'all while you're here, okay? In the past, I've seen comments, why were the victims arrested, okay? Good question, and unfortunately, I've never got to answer that for you, okay? But here's why. I can't force somebody to be a victim. I can't. I told you that. But when these victims are trafficked into the country, we don't know who they are. Well, if we arrest them, and let's say they don't want to, they're scared to cooperate with the investigation, at least we get them out of there. We now know who they are, their fingerprints are in the system, and that only makes them safer going forward. A lot of times those charges are going to be dismissed. They walk out. But at least we have them in the system and we know who they are now. So I'm not doing that to be mean, I promise. I'm doing that to just get them in the system. So let's say another agency comes in contact with them years from now, at least they know who they are and they can be easily identified. All right, I'm done.
It's like a different take on protective because
it is.
All right, thank you all so much, and thank you for the team, and let's go forward and get this done. Who will?